Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? Yada la la la, 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 yada la la la. Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? Yada la la la, 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 yada la la la. Barechu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam va'ed, Le'olam va'ed. Yada la la la, 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 yada la la la.
Yay, day, 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 day. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei HaShalom, Malchei Elyon. Mi Melech, Malachei HaMlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech, Malachei HaMlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
טובו אוהליך יעקב משכנותיך ישראל. מה טובו אוהליך יעקב משכנותיך ישראל. ואני ברוב חסדך אבוא ביתך, אשתחווה לך על קודשך ביראתך, אשתחווה לך על קודשך ביראתך.
Shabbat Shalom. We can do a little better than that. Shabbat Shalom. We are blessed to be here for a very special occasion, the Bar Mitzvah of Lucas Moore. Let me just provide a couple of guidances or instructions as we make our way into our service. All of the prayers in our prayer book are accompanied by transliteration and as well as English translation. So we encourage you to sing along, to participate fully in the service, and to be able to really be transformed through the divine in the ways that Lucas will be leading us this morning. Also, just to make note, the security guard can give some assistance, but the bathrooms are sort of through the lobby towards the corridor in the back. So if you're ever need to leave for a couple minutes to make use, please do so. Also, Lucas will give us instructions during the service, when to sit, when to stand, some choreography. Please just follow along as he will lead us. In a moment, I will have the pleasure of inviting Lucas's parents, Tom and Devorah, to the bima, and they will place the talit upon his shoulders. Lucas, as we take this moment to recognize the responsibilities and obligations of being a young Jewish adult, I particularly want to just acknowledge how really proud I am that you took it upon yourself to say, I'm not going to let this moment pass. I'm just not going to go through life, but I'm really going to realize with reverence and solemnity that I'm going to make the fullest nature of having a bar mitzvah. And you've been coming to Temple Solel for a number of years already, and you already knew, even before your bar mitzvah began, the importance of Torah. I know you came to Torah study many times, you've come to services, you've been part of the religious life of the community. But this year, you have learned for yourself on your own terms what prayer means, what your attachment to the Jewish people means, what your attachment to God and Israel means. You've been able to not only experience and bear witness to others doing Judaism, and you're kind of participating in it, but you're being able now to claim for yourself a little bit more, what does this mean for me? And so with that understanding, that is really truly what it means to put on the talit, to wear the talis. It's to say, yes, these are the obligations and responsibilities not only that I participate in, but that I am claiming ownership over. And so with that, it's my pleasure to call forward your parents, Tom and Devorah, who will place the talit on your shoulders as I ask the congregation to please rise. Amen. Please be seated. The prayers that we begin with are called Nasim B'Kol Yom, the miracles of our day. As we turn to page 80, Lucas, literally as you begin your day, as you start your day, from the moment you're lying in bed and your eyes awake, God provides us an opportunity for having structure in our lives, for having purpose in our lives. Just as you'll perhaps, have a beverage in the morning, maybe, a glass of milk or orange juice or whatever it is that you do as sort of a daily ritual in waking up. Judaism also provides that opportunity to see that in every act that we do, there is an opportunity for blessing. There's an opportunity for divinity. That through our individual acts, we can choose to make our lives meaningful. We can choose to make our lives Jewish. We can choose to make our lives good. And so rather than just going through our everyday in sort of a mundane set of practices, Judaism provides, through these miracles that we have, the opportunity to attach ourselves to something that's greater, something that's more transformative into our own lives. And so my prayer for you is that whatever the daily acts that you take, whatever the actions that you pursue in your life, you see as part of them something that uplifts you, something that nourishes you, something that cultivates you, and something that inspires you to be good, to feel good, and to provide for good for others. And so we embark on the miracles of our day, as this truly is a miracle for you to be able to lead us in worship on page 80.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Praise to you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who has given the mind the ability to distinguish day from night. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Praise to you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who opens the eyes of the blind. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Praise to you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who frees the captive. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Praise to you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who lifts up the fallen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Praise to you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who stretches the earth over the waters. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Praise to you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who strengthens our steps. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Praise to you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who clothes the naked. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Praise to you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who gives strength to the weary. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Praise to you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who removes sleep from the eyes, slumber from the eyelids. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Praise to you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who made me in the image of God. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Praise to you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who has made me free. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Praise to you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who has made me a Jew. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Praise to you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who girds Israel with strength. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Praise to you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who crowns Israel with splendor. I am a Jew because the faith of Israel demands no abdication of my mind. I am a Jew because the faith of Israel requires all the devotion of my heart. I am a Jew because in every place where suffering weeps, the Jew weeps. I am a Jew because at every time when despair cries out, the Jew hopes. I am a Jew because the word of Israel is the oldest and the newest. I am a Jew because Israel's promise is the universal promise. I am a Jew because for Israel, the world is not completed. We are completing it. I am a Jew because for Israel, humanity is not created. We are creating it. I am a Jew because Israel places humanity and its unity above the nations and above Israel itself. I am a Jew because above humanity, image of the divine unity, Israel places the unity which is divine. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to engage with words of Torah. Let us rise for the call to worship on page 108. Baruch et Adonai hamevorach, Baruch Adonai hamevorach, leolam vaed. Praise Adonai, to whom praise is due forever. Praise be Adonai, to whom praise is due, now and forever. Please be seated. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Yotzer or uvore choshech, oseh shalom uvore et hakol. Praised are you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, creator of light and darkness, who makes peace and fashions all things. In mercy, you illumine the world and those who live upon it. In your goodness, you daily renew creation. How numerous are your works, Adonai. In wisdom, you formed them all, filling the earth with your creatures. Be praised, Adonai our God, for the excellent work of your hands, and for the lights you created. May they glorify you. Shine a new light upon Zion, that we all may swiftly merit its radiance. Praised are you, Adonai, creator of all heavenly lights. Baruch atah Adonai, Yotzer Ameorot. We turn to page 113. Once or twice in a lifetime, a man or woman may choose a radical leaving, having heard Lech Lecha, go forth. God disturbs us toward our destiny by hard events and by freedom's now urgent voice, which explode and confirm who we are. We don't like leaving, but God loves becoming. Baruch atah Adonai, habocher be'amo Yisrael be'ahava. Please rise for the Shema on page 114. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem, Kevod Malchuto, Leolam Vaed. Hear, O Israel, Adonai is our God, Adonai is one. Blessed is God's glorious majesty forever and ever. Please be seated. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך וחיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לאות על ידיך וחיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרוהו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם. We continue with Mi Kamocha on page 122.
מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש, נורא תהילות, אוסף אלה, נורא תהילות, אוסף אלה, ים ביר בם 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 בם, ים ביר בם 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 בם, ים בם ב ים בם ב, ים ביר בם 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 בם, ים ביר בם 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 בם, ים ביר בם בם bam bam yam bam bam yam bam ba yam bam 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 Adonai himloch leolam vaed leolam 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 vaed yam bir bam 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 yam bir bam 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 yam bam ba yam bam ba yam bam 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 yam bam ba yam bam ba yam bam bam.
Please rise for the Amida on page 124. Adonai sefatai tifta ufi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avoteinu ve'imuteinu Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak ve'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel ve'Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor ve'Anora El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Vekone Hakol, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באחווה, מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, God of our fathers and mothers, God of Abraham, God of Isaac, and God of Jacob, God of Sarah, God of Rebekah, God of Rachel, and God of Leah. The great, mighty, and awesome God, transcendent God who bestows loving kindness, creates everything out of love, remembers the love of our fathers and mothers, and brings redemption to their children's children for the sake of the divine name. Sovereign, deliverer, helper, and shield, blessed are you, Adonai, Sarah's helper, Abraham's shield. Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, ve'ezrat Sarah. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, וחיי הכל אתה, רב להושיע, מוריד הטל. מכלכל חיים וחסד, מחייך הכל ברחמים רבים. צומח נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומי דומה לך, מלך ממיד ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה לחיות הכל. You are forever mighty, Adonai. You give life to all. You rain dew upon us. You sustain life through love, giving life to all through great compassion, supporting the fallen, healing the sick, freeing the captive, keeping faith with those who sleep in the dust. Who is like you, source of mighty acts? Who resembles you, a sovereign who takes and gives life, causing deliverance to spring up, and faithfully giving life to all? Blessed are you, Adonai, who gives life to all. Baruch atah Adonai, mechayeh hakol.
We turn now to the portion of our Amidah, which we offer as our Kedusha. Kedusha, Lucas, comes from a word kadesh, which is to be holy. And in the Bar Mitzvah portion that you're reading this morning, we studied together how there is someone who is put outside of the camp for desecrating God's name, right? That was the blasphemer. And you're going to teach us more about that in a little bit. To desecrate God's name, there's a word for it actually in Judaism. It's called Chilul Hashem. It's such an offense that we want to push it away from us, get rid of it, eliminate it from our lives as though it were intoxicating or like poisonous. There is an opposite to that. Just like everything has a meaning, there is an opposite to that meaning. And so what is the opposite of desecration? It is the actual elevation of holiness. It is the opportunity to elevate, to inspire, to also draw near. So if to desecrate is to push away, to make holy is to draw people in. My prayer for you, as you now become a young Jewish adult, is that through your sacred journey, that you bring in God into your life. You bring God closer into your life. You bring Judaism closer in your life by electing on your own ways, whether it's Jewish holidays, whether it's prayer, whether it's having Jewish friends, whether it's going to Israel, that you come closer to God by bringing in, not pushing your own self away, but bring yourself in and bringing others in into that closeness. That is what it means to be holy, to be connected to ourselves, to one another, and to the purpose of Judaism, by being able to have that as a source, a foundation that is literally interwoven into us. But you also, in addition to all that, have this wonderful gift of music. And in that fashion, so much of us look towards faith and Judaism as a way of feeling connected. And so as you lead us in worship, know that that gift is ever present that you have, that God gave you, which helps others to draw near. I know you feel that intensity with music, and I hope that in whatever ways you seek it out in your life, that you constantly feel the sense of the divine through music, whether it's the music that you play, whether it's the music you experience, and also the music that you have in your Judaism, that it helps you always to give yourself a more full measure connectedness to yourself, to the Jewish people, and to the world. And so with that, as you seek out holiness in your life and in Judaism, it's my pleasure to call forward Gil and Martha, your uncle and aunt, to the bima, as I ask them to please kindly open the ark doors, and we turn to page 130.
לקדש את שמך בעולם כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמי מרום ככתוב על יד נביאך וקרא זל זה ואמר קדוש 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 אדוני צבאות מלוא כל הארץ כבודו אדיר אדירנו אדוני אדוננו מה אדיר שמך בכל הארץ ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו.
Let us sanctify your name on earth, as it is sanctified in the heavens above, as it is written by your prophet. Holy, holy, holy is Adonai Tsevaot. God's presence fills the whole earth. Source of our strength, Sovereign One, how majestic is your presence in all the earth. Blessed is the presence of God, shining forth from where God dwells. God alone is our God and our Creator, our ruler and our helper. And in mercy, God is revealed in the sight of all the living. I am Adonai, your God. Adonai shall reign forever, your God, O Zion, from generation to generation. Hallelujah.
Please be seated.
לדור ודור,
לדור ודור,
לדור ודור,
לדור ודור,
לדור ודור נגיד גודלך, לדור ודור,
לדור ודור,
לדור ודור,
לדור ודור,
לדור ודור נגיד גודלך, ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש, קדושתך נקדיש. ושפחך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש לעולם לעולם ועד לדור ודור
לדור ודור,
לדור ודור
לדור ודור,
לדור ודור נגיד גודלך לדור ודור
לדור ודור,
לדור ודור
לדור ודור,
לדור ודור נגיד גודלך כי אל מלך גדול גדול וקדוש 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 אתה לי 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 וקדוש וקדוש אתה.
To all generations we will declare your greatness, and for all eternity proclaim your holiness. Your praise, O God, shall never depart from our lips. Blessed are you, Adonai, the holy God. Baruch atah Adonai ha'el hakadosh. We turn to page 135. Where has this week vanished? Is it lost forever? Will I ever recover anything from it? The joy of life, the unexpected victory, the realized hope, the task accomplished. Will I ever be able to banish the memory of pain, the sting of defeat, the heaviness of boredom? On this day, let me keep for a while what must drift away. On this day, let me be free of the burdens that must return. On this day, Shabbat, abide. Help me to withdraw for a while from the flight of time. Contain the retreat of the hours and days from the grasp of frantic life. Let me learn to pause, if only for this day. Let me find peace on this day. Let me enter into a quiet world this day. On this day, Shabbat, abide. Baruch atah Adonai, mekadesh HaShabbat.
רצה אדוני אלוהינו בעמך ישראל ותפילתם באהבה תקבל ותהי לרצון תמיד עבודת ישראל ישראל עמך ותחזינה עינינו בשובך לציון
We continue the service on page 137. On this holy Shabbat, may we draw nearer to life, to peace, and to joy. May we find true rest, holiness in our deeds, worth in our study of Torah. Let us feed on the love of goodness. Let us drink from the love of goodness. Restrain our thirst for excess and cleanse our hearts to serve life well. On this holy Shabbat, may we draw nearer in life, in peace, and in joy. Baruch atah Adonai, she'otcha levadcha be'ira na'avod. We continue on page 139. For the expanding grandeur of creation, worlds known and unknown, galaxies beyond galaxies, filling us with awe and challenging our imaginations, modim anachnu lach. For this fragile planet Earth, its times and tides, its sunsets and seasons, modim anachnu lach. For the joy of human life, its wonders and surprises, its hopes and achievements, modim anachnu lach. For human community, our common past and future hope, our oneness transcending all separation, our capacity to work for peace and justice in the midst of hostility and oppression, modim anachnu lach. For high hopes and noble causes, for faith without fanaticism, for understanding of views not shared, modim anachnu lach. For all who have labored and suffered for a fairer world, who have lived so that others might live in dignity and freedom, modim anachnu lach. For human liberties and sacred rights, for opportunities to change and grow, to affirm and choose, modim anachnu lach. We pray that we may live not by our fears, but by our hopes, not by our words, but by our deeds. Blessed are you, Adonai. Your name is goodness, and you are worthy of thanksgiving. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha ulecha na'eh leodot.
שים שלום,
טובה וברכה, חן וחסד ורחמים ורחמים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל ישראל עמך.
ברכנו יוצרנו כולנו כאחד, באור פניך. כי באור פניך נתת לנו, אדוני אלוהינו, שים שלום.
שים שלום, טובה וברכה, חן וחסד ורחמים ורחמים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל ישראל עמך.
וטוב וטוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל בכל עת ובכל שעה, בשלומך שים שלום.
שים שלום, טובה וברכה, חן וחסד ורחמים ורחמים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל ישראל עמך. ברוך אתה אדוני המברך את עמו ישראל בשלום. And now a moment of silent prayer.
עושה שלום במרומה, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומה, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל.
We are about to embark on what we call the Seder Kriyat Torah, the portion of our service where we learn and guide ourselves from our ancient tradition, from our sacred Torah. And you have, in your own way, from a younger age through this year, Lucas, you've been able to really connect well to the Torah, and part of that is understanding the characters, the narrative, the stories that take us from Genesis through Exodus to Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. The Torah is, though, much more than just a set of stories and characters and a narrative, although those are in of themselves great and wondrous. The Torah is also a source of wisdom. The Torah is also a set of instructions for how to live our lives. But there's also something, I think, about Torah that helps us to transcend our own selves. Every time that I prepare a sermon, every time that I prepare a Torah study or teaching, there's something as I immerse myself in Torah that helps me to connect more deeply to myself and more deeply to the people around me and to the world around me. There's never a time that I look into the Torah where I don't either ask myself a question or be able to find purpose or meaning, and to study the Torah through the ages and to gain that perspective. We did a little bit of that ourselves. One of the other elements that helps us to discover more than who we are is not only in the learning of the Torah and the conversation, the dialogue over Torah and the questions of the Torah, but it's literally how the Torah itself is inscribed. Cantor over there, he is a Cantor, as you know. His father, though, your father was a Cantor, and wasn't somebody a Sofer? Who's a Sofer? A Sofer. Do you know what a Sofer is? Very good, that's right. And even in Cantor's office, I don't know if you've seen it, there's a little piece of parchment that you have seen it, good, that his father actually authored for as part of the scroll. And so there is actually a connection vocationally between, I believe, that action of being a Sofer and that Sofer's son who also became a Cantor. And it is this. Each of the letters of the Torah, as they're inscribed, you'll notice that for many of them, there's a little attachment at the top of them. It's like looks like a wavy mark or what have you. And it's very fine. It almost looks like it bleeds into the page. It's like, how do you connect the letters in a way that's elegant? And that's how a lot of people perceive it in a way. It's sort of a stylistic interpretation, because every Sofer has their own unique way of writing. We all have our own penmanship, right? Well, it's even more than that. Every word on any page, including in the Torah itself and turning the scroll itself, has a challenge because it resides, the black letters, on a white landscape. When we utter words, they come from our mouth, but they kind of dissipate into the world around us. And the Torah is teaching us through these little markings, through these elegant attachments, the letters, that through a study of Torah, we can actually connect beyond the world that we see. That the virtues of life that are ever present, that are not necessarily visible through our eyes, those are the ones that actually give us a sense of purpose to our lives. Righteousness, goodness, love, compassion, relationship, all these elements of our lives that you can't necessarily concretize in a tangible fashion, but by your behaviors, by your attachment, by your living a life of Torah, we invite those elements in a very real way, and they become part of our life. And you do that every single way you attach yourself to Torah, not only through its learning, but even through the music that you offer. That's a way of helping us to transcend the words in a way that helps us to connect ever more deeply. And so as we embark on our Seder Torah, I pray that you will constantly use the Torah as a gift, as a source of wisdom, a source of instruction, but also a source of meaningfulness in your life that helps you to attach those things that are so vital to who we are and to bring them real into our world. To connecting the black and the white, connecting the letters of Torah to the parchment, connecting the words of Torah to our sacred selves. It is my pleasure to call forward to lead us in the opening of our ark, your grandparents, Eli Kamara, Michael Ballett, and Celso Frady, along with your parents. As we turn to page 245, as I ask the congregation to please rise, Assemble the people, the men, the women, and children, and the strangers in your cities, to hear, to learn, to revere Adonai your God, to observe faithfully the words of our Torah, and let their children who do not know it hear, that they too may learn to revere Adonai our God. For happy is the one who finds wisdom, the one who gains understanding. For Torah's value is greater than silver, Torah's yield more than fine gold. Torah is more precious than rubies, no earthly treasure can match it.
אין כמוך ואלוהים אדוני ואין כמעשיך מלכותך מלכות כל עולמים וממשלתך בכל דור ודור אדוני מלך אדוני מלך אדוני מלוך לעולם ועד אדוני עוז לעמו ייתן, אדוני יברך את עמו ושלום.
From out of Zion will come the Torah and the word of Adonai from Jerusalem, as the Torah is passed from generation to generation.
כי מציון תצא תורה, כי מציון תצא תורה ודבר אדוני מירושלים.
And this scroll is the secret of our people's life from Sinai until now. Its teaching is love and justice, goodness and hope. Freedom is its gift to all who treasure it.
ברוך שנתן תורה תורה ברוך שנתן תורה תורה לעמו ישראל בקדושתו.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Hear, O Israel, Adonai is our God, Adonai is one. Echad Eloheinu Gadol Adonenu Kadosh Shemo. Our God is one, Adonai is great, holy is God's name.
אדוני הגדולה והגבורה והתפארת והנצח והוד כי כל בשמיים ובארץ כי כל בשמיים ובארץ לך אדוני הממלכה והמתנשא לכל לראש וטהר ליבנו לעובדך 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 באמת 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 וטהר ליבנו וטהר ליבנו לעובדך באמת וטהר ליבנו וטהר ליבנו לעובדך באמת La 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 וטהר ליבנו לעובדך באמת.
For our first Aliyah, it is my pleasure to call forward Cliff J. and Edna Lieberman for the blessing over Torah.
Just hold it. Just please hold it. Okay, just let's put this right away. Okay, good. Okay. Okay.
Baruch et Adonai Hamavarach.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Olam Vaed.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach L'Olam Valed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam Asher Becha Banu Mikol Hamim V'natan Lanu Et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen. וידבר אדוני אל משה לאמור, אמור אל הכהנים בני אהרון, ואמרת עליהם, לנפש לא יטמע בימיו, כי אם לשארו הקרוב אליו, לאמו ולאביו, ולבנו ולביתו ולאחיו, ולאחותו הבתולה קרובה אליו, אשר לא הייתה לאיש להיטמע.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Say Shabbat Shalom.
It's my pleasure to call forward your parents, Deborah and Tom, for the blessing, second blessing over our Torah.
Kiss the Torah first.
Can I go ahead?
It's okay, Baruch. It's okay.
Baruch et Adonai Hamvorach.
Baruch Adonai Borach L'Olam Vaed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach Le'olam Vaed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachanu mikol ha'amim ונתן לנו את תורתו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
אמן. לא יטמע בעל בעמיו להיכלו, לא יכרכו כורחה בראשם, ופאת זקנם לא יגלחו, ובבשרם לא יסרטו שרתת. קדושים יהיו לאלוהים, ולא יחללו את שם אלוהיהם, כי את אישי אדוני לחם אלוהיהם, הם מקריבים והיו קודש.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר נתן לנו תורה אמת וחיי עולם בתוכנו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
And for our final aliyah, we call forward for the first time for the blessing over Torah, Lucas.
Page 250, go to page 250. Okay, במה ישלם ברוך
ברכו את אדוני המבורך.
ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד.
ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר בחר בנו מכל העמים, ונתן לנו את תורתו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
Amen.
ומכה בהמה ישלמנה, ומכה אדם יומת. משפט אחד יהיה לכם, כגר כאזרח יהיה, כי אני אדוני אלוהיכם. וידבר משה אל בני ישראל, ויוציאו את המקלל אל מחוץ למחנה, וירגמו אותו אבן, ובני ישראל עשו כאשר ציווה אדוני את משה. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר נתן לנו תורת אמת, וחיי עולם נטע בתוכנו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
Amen. Let us rise as we honor the Torah.
וזאת התורה אשר שם משה לבני בני ישראל על פי אדוני ביד משה.
It's my pleasure to call forward Daniel and Ari, who will open our ark.
ורבק ירושלים, יברכך השם מציון, כל ימי חייך. ולבנים לפניך, שלום על ישראל. ולבנים לפניך, שלום על ישראל.
Yahalu et Shabbonai ki nisgav shemo levado. Let us praise the name of God, for God's name alone is exalted.
יהללו את שם אדוני, כי נשגב שמו לבדו. עץ חיים היא, למה חזיקים בה, ותומכיה מאושר. דרכיה דרכי נועם, וכל נתיבותיה שלום. אשיבנו אדוני אליך ונשובה. חדש חדש ימינו, חדש ימינו כקדם.
Please be seated as Lucas will now offer us the prophetic portion that accompanies the Torah portion from this morning, from the book of Ezekiel.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר בחר בנביאים טובים ורצה בדבריכם הנאמרים באמת. ברוך אתה אדוני הבוחר בתורה ובמשה עבדו ובישראל עמו ובנביאי האמת והצדק. They, the Levitical priests, shall declare to my people what is sacred and what is profane, and inform them what is clean and what is unclean. In lawsuits, too, it is they who shall act as judges. They shall decide them in accordance with my rules. They shall preserve my teachings and my laws regarding all my fixed occasions, and they shall maintain the sanctity of my Sabbaths. A priest shall not defile himself by entering a house where there is a dead person. He shall defile himself only for father or mother, son or daughter, brother or unmarried sister. After he has become clean, 7 days shall be counted off for him. And on that day he re-enters the inner court of the sanctuary to minister in the sanctuary. He shall present his sin offering, declares the Lord God. This shall be their portion, for I am their portion, and no holding shall be given them in Israel, for I am their holding. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, tzur kol haolamim, tzadik bechol hadorot, האל הנאמן, האומר ועושה, המדבר ומקיים, שכל דבריו אמת וצדק, על התורה ועל העבודה ועל הנביאים, ועל יום השבת הזה, שנתת לנו, אדוני אלוהינו, לקדושה ולמנוחה, לכבוד ולתפארת. על הכל, אדוני אלוהינו, אנחנו מודים לך ומברכים אותך. יתברך שמך בפי כל חי, תמיד לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה, אדוני, מקדש השבת.
That was wonderful. You're going to do the speech now.
You're doing great. Now we have some wonderful words of Torah by our bar mitzvah.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
My parsha is called Emor, and I read this morning from the 24th chapter of Leviticus, also known in Hebrew as Vayikra. This section of Torah deals with the regulations over the priests, sacrifices that they can bring, and also sacred times. I chose to study the last section of the parsha, which deals with a case of how to deal with what is commonly known as lex talionis, or laws of retaliation. These ancient laws are not exclusive to Judaism, but are also found in many other ancient societies, such as its applications in Babylonian or Roman law. One particularly well-known verse representing this idea is the phrase, eye for an eye, or ayin tachat ayin. How should we read and interpret this phrase? Is it meant to be taken literally as a form of retributive justice, or was there intended to be more nuance in its execution? Reading through the whole section of Torah, another verse which particularly stood out for me was, "You shall have one standard for stranger and citizen alike." This means that the Torah is actually trying to apply a condition of equity. This is all the more significant because it is stated in a section of Torah about particular times, religious leaders, and religious rites. And yet, despite all of the particularism invoked about Jewish life, the Torah makes certain that on certain issues of justice, it demands to treat all people equally. In one sense, one could read this as providing more evidence for a literal interpretation of the rule of eye for an eye. However, I don't believe this to be the case. Instead, it provides more reasoning toward a more non-literal reading of the eye for eye rule by maintaining that equality needs to be maintained between different people. The rabbi shared with me that there are many interpretations of the verse, and defending it as disproving a literal interpretation. For one, the verse featuring this specification of eye for an eye reads, fracture for fracture, eye for eye, and tooth for tooth. No two people, the rabbi pointed out, have exactly the same bones, eyes, or teeth, and so proper compensation would have had to have been practically implemented through other means. A blind person, for instance, would be less affected by the loss of an eye than someone with sight, making such a policy of literal, equal, retributive justice impossible to apply equally. This keeps in line with the specification of equal justice said later in the section. Additionally, speaking of restitution for the injury of an eye, it is possible to blind someone only partially. In a practical manner, this could happen quite literally, and is a serious injury for which there must be restitution. However, as you could not take an exact portion of a person's eyesight, making a true exact retribution toward the injurer impossible, there is no way to properly address it, except by monetary equivalence. This is in keeping with the rabbinical interpretation of the verse. The Torah is not only the 5 books of Moses, but it is also the interpretation of those verses and what we value in our interpretations. In a commentary that I read with the rabbi, it was stated that there is, in Jewish history, no instance of the law of retaliation ever being carried literally, eye for an eye and tooth for a tooth. To the Talmudists, the biblical words eye for eye had become a mere expression of the law of inequality, or equality. In my own thinking, this is consistent with the specification of treating the citizen and the stranger alike. Interesting enough, despite Judaism having often been held by Christians over the ages as interpreting the verse literally as strict justice, in reality, Jewish law has been interpreted with a great deal of compassion and moderation, whereas in Christianity, often intertwined with the state, torture and mutilation were mechanisms of state and religious coercion, and especially exercised against Jews. In today's world, we ought to think carefully about how to distribute justice equitably and without vengefulness, and hopefully without violence. Throughout the United States' history, for example, discrimination based on race or on one's religious beliefs have been frequent issues, many unjust laws and court decisions having been made simply based on the prejudices of the people in power involved. Despite making progress in these areas, we still have a long way to go. We still live in a society where citizens and immigrants are not treated equally. And another example is how Israel, despite having challenges as a country, is sometimes scrutinized more fully than other countries. As a bar mitzvah, I know that I must always seek out a deeper meaning of Torah. This deeper meaning will always include living in a world of equality and fairness. I'd like to thank both of my parents for always supporting me throughout this journey, as well as in all my other endeavors. I thank Cantor Rosen for doing a fantastic job teaching me the words and melodies of these ancient traditions, and Rabbi Plost for helping me better understand the meaning of Judaism, its traditions, and the importance of the prayers we speak and sing. I thank my friends for always supporting me and keeping me sane through jokes and laughter, and all of my extended family from both the northern and southern hemispheres who have traveled all the way down or up to be here today, as well as all the people watching virtually who couldn't come physically. Thank you to everyone who came here this morning to share this time with me. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Where are you going? Come on back.
I don't know.
You did a great job. Wow, really magnificent. Not only in how you lift us up in your reading of the prayers, how you offered us such meaningful words of Torah, but also how you carried us forward in music. All of it combined really reflected such a devotion to this opportunity for having your bar mitzvah, but also with the essence of what I know will be a sincere and honest devotion to leading a Jewish life. The parsha that you mentioned is so unusual because what I remember in your speech a little bit. Let me see if I can find the exact words. Where are we in here? Here it is. It says, you said, in reality, Jewish law has been interpreted with a great deal of compassion, moderation, whereas in Christianity, oftentimes were intertwined with the state. Torture and mutilation were mechanisms of state and religious coercion. You are, as we know, descended from that exact aspect of Jews who were tortured and mutilated through mechanisms of state and religious coercion, because in your own family there was a passing on of certain Jewish symbolism and practices, and the reason that was is because there was a time of deep persecution in Spain and Portugal, where Jews lived as what we call moranos, sometimes conversos, where they had to keep hidden from the overall society their Judaism. So outwardly, they might behave as though they were Christian, but inwardly they were Jewish. But they had to keep it, maybe be able to light candles. But if you can imagine this, lighting candles on the Friday night, it's hard for us to even connect to this, but to light candles on a Friday night, you could be found by the state to be tortured or even worse. And so the fact that they clung in some way or fashion to their Judaism and passed it on to their children such that it endured all the way to you, so that you could be here today, so that you could have that light of Judaism shine, both inwardly and outwardly, is truly, truly a miracle. And when we talk about this essence of equality under the law, I think these two concepts are intertwined, that the idea of being persecuted is connected to being part of a people that demands with vigor and with sincerity the fact that all people are to be treated equally under the law, regardless of their ethnicity, regardless of their race, certainly regardless of their religious persuasion. And to hold that truth as a Jew in the greater society is sometimes challenging for those who are in power. And yet that's a core part of who we are. I know that as you have so aptly reflected on the Torah this morning, that with all that you do, you approach your Judaism and life in general with a great source of humility, and also as well of gratitude. And these two ideas of humility and gratitude go hand in hand with that sense of equality. Why? Because if you can be humble before that God, you can be humble to your fellow person. And if you can be full of gratitude for the blessings that God provides us, so too can you be gracious and full of thanks to your fellow person. So even more than your singing abilities, your musical abilities, even more than your reflection on Torah, it's just a part of who you are, this very nature of having a soulful attachment to Judaism, that you're just a guy who has a tremendous amount of humility and a tremendous amount of opportunity of giving thanks. And it's reflective of your devotion to your faith. It's reflective of all that you shared with us today, and I think it is interwoven deeply into who you are. It is what carried your ancestors through persecution that was handed down from family member to family member, and it is what provides for you today, and I know with many blessings in Jewish life, whether it's having Jewish friends, whether it's pronouncing Jewish values, whether it's singing in Judaism, whether it's the many opportunities that you'll have to lead in Judaism, and certainly to be able to always be in a sanctuary, to find peace and security and support with all the aspects of your life. And so it is my greatest of pleasures to ask the congregation to rise as I provide you a blessing for your moment. Yivarechecha Adonai v'yimyasharecha. May God bless you and guard you. Yaranai panav alecha v'yuchunecha. May God shine upon you. And truly that is the source of the meaning of Or, Ya'er, the same name as Luke. May that shining light always be part of you, and its Jewish presence be full of you and provide you grace. Yisanai palav alecha v'yisamecha b'shalom. May God's countenance always be with you, and may you have a source of peace, wholeness, completion, and harmony all the days of your life. And together let us say, Amen.
Lechi lach, to a land that I will show you. Lech lecha, to a place you do not know. Lechi lach, on your journey I will bless you, and you shall be a blessing. You shall be a blessing. You shall be a blessing. Lechi lach. Lechi lach, and I shall make your name great. Lech lecha, and all shall praise your name. Lechi to the place that I will show you. Lesimchat chayim, lesimchat chayim, lesimchat chayim, lechi lach. And you shall be a blessing. You shall be a blessing. You shall be a blessing, Lechi lach.
And now some words of blessings from your parents. Please be seated. I think it's do it here.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
First of all, I would like to thank the Cantor Rosen for his patience, dedication, and the impressive commitment teaching Lucas all the melodies and not just any Hebrew pronunciation, but the right one. I would also like to thank Rabbi Plost for the many hours he spent with Lucas, opening up his view of the Torah, teaching him the meanings of and importance of traditions and rituals, adjusting the conversation to Lucas's needs and style. His commitment with our congregation and community is an example that I hope Lucas can always carry in his heart. I would like to thank all our friends and family members. We have dear loved ones who came from Massachusetts, New Jersey, from Rio de Janeiro and Manaus, Brazil, and from the distant land of Sarasota, Florida. I feel blessed to have all of you here with us today. We also have friends and family watching today's service live in South America, Europe, and here in the United States. My history with Judaism is not a linear and ordinary one. I was born and raised in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, and in a majority Catholic country. I grew up knowing my family was kind of weird and different from the other families. We did funny things like not ever eating pork, changing sheets and cleaning the house on Fridays, which was not a choice but mandatory, having different utensils and pots for different kinds of food, to just cite a few of them. I remember vividly my grandma, Ruth Simões Câmara, talking to me about Adonai and saying shalom to people, which I would think were simply things that all grandmas would do. When I met Tom in Rio de Janeiro in July of 2005, it was not just any date. It was like we had finally found each other. Even though Tom didn't come from a Jewish background, his inexplicable connection with Judaism was already all there. With his support and knowledge, I started in a journey to discover my roots, to rediscover it. I did a lot of research, which would involve talking to many other family members, hours and hours on the internet, some frustration, and that ends in incredibly enlightening conversations with the older women of my very big family. I started to realize that my family was forced to convert to Christianity more than 500 years ago, but kept their Jewish traditions hidden underground. We were invited by friends to be at a Shabbat service at a Chabad synagogue, and despite the fact it was an Orthodox service with women on the balcony separate from men, I felt strangely at home. When, after moving to the US, I told my grandma, Ruth, that we were attending regular service at a Reform synagogue in Durham, North Carolina, she was actually overjoyed. She was very happy to know that her great-grandson was being raised as a Jew, and I am sure she would be extremely proud today. I want to say a special thank you to my mom, my mother, Ellie. Am I gonna cry now? For keeping and passing the traditions to me. Without her love and dedication, we would not be here today. Thank you. Today, Lucas's bar mitzvah has so many rich meanings for me. I am so proud of his dedication, his talent, his beauty, the beauty of his voice being used to reaffirm his Jewish identity, our Jewish identity. He's doing what so many of our ancestors could not do, living a Jewish life and proudly showing to the world that we are Jewish. Thank you for everything, Lucas. You are the light of my life. When I was planning and waiting for you to arrive to this world, in this world, I would have an expectation, as probably any mom would. But my imagination was far more limited than the reality. You exceed by far any expectation I could ever have with all your creativity, sweetness, intelligence, musicality, with your love. I love you. Thank you. Shabbat Shalom. Do you have anything to say?
I have a very few words to share. We have a competition in my house, who is going to talk the most? And it's hard to say whether it's Deborah or myself. Lucas is very quiet, actually, most of the time. I am very grateful to have met Deborah. The very first day we met at about 2:20. And she finally went home at about 11 o'clock at night after 2 large meals at 2 different restaurants in Rio and hours and hours of conversation. So we have actually not been apart ever since that day. So getting to this point, as Deborah mentioned, involved discovering that she came from a Jewish family, which she had no idea. I discovered this when we set up our household, and she held up one spoon and said, "This is for sweet foods," and she held up the other ones, "And this one is for salty foods." And I said, "Oh, yes, really?" And I said, "Does your family have different dishes for different foods?" "Yes." "Well, doesn't everybody?" And I said, "No." Bear in mind, I was not Jewish at this point. So I went to my friend Shalev and I said, "Shalev, what do you think? 2 spoons. He said, "Milk and meat, of course." And I said, "Different dishes." "Oh, well, she's absolutely, totally, there's no question that she's Jewish." So we went to Chabad, and she sat up on the balcony with our friend Anna Katz, and hung out with the women and all the little babies, and I sat downstairs, and I noticed that the Jews in Chabad in Rio not only wore kippas, but all sorts of different hats, so I fit right in. And so we moved to Rio. Lucas was still in utero. We moved from Rio to the United States, and we thought, well, what are we going to do? We sent an email to the Reform Synagogue in Durham and heard back from Rabbi Friedman within about 15 minutes. And he said, well, come and see us. We went in and we explained her history, and finally he said, "So who's Jewish here?" And I said, "Well, she's Sephardic from this background from 500 years, and I'm not." So he said, "Well, come to services, nobody will know you're not Jewish, and after a couple of months, you can decide whether you want to do the conversion process." So we also remember very vividly being wonderfully welcomed by that congregation, not just by Rabbi Friedman, but also by Leah Berkowitz, who came to interview for the position of junior rabbi there and walked around with a 2-month-old Lucas in her arms. Well, I remember him as being this big. So I am very grateful to Judeo Reform. Lucas attended Torah study there, believe it or not, when he was 4 or 5. And I am also so grateful to be taken in by this congregation where I have such wonderful friends, and particularly grateful to Rabbi Salkin and to Cantor Israel. And I remember somehow I stayed for the Saturday Torah service, and after the service, Cantor said to me, "What are you doing for high holidays?" And that was the beginning of us being really a part of this congregation. I also want to acknowledge the important part in our lives of our very dear late friend Sergio, who was Lucas's godfather, who passed away 6 years ago this summer. He showed me in particular how to be a mensch. And I think the fact that Lucas is a mensch is due to the fact that he had this great love from his godfather, who was a musician, and foresaw that Lucas was going to be a musician, something that most Jewish parents don't expect their children to do. Lawyers, doctors, but not musicians so much. So thank you so much, Rabbi Plost, for bringing Lucas to this point. Just like I didn't want to push Lucas in towards the direction of music, I wanted to leave it wide open about him doing his bar mitzvah, and we both said to him multiple times, "Well, we don't want to, we don't want to push him. Are you sure you want to do this?" "Oh, yeah." So, but it was the gentle persistence of the years and years of coming with Dad to Torah study, I think, that brought us to this day, partly. So thank you all for coming. I know people have come thousands of miles to be here. It means a lot to us. And I never expected to be at my son's bar mitzvah for a variety of reasons, including where I came from. And Deborah, I'm sure if you asked her 20 years ago, she didn't know that she was Jewish back then. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you so much for being here.
With the blessings and miracles of this day, let us be uplifted as we rise for the adoration, page 280.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי ארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים, לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא.
Shabbat shalom. Thank you. Mazel tov.
Please be seated. Lucas. Let the time not be distant, O God, when all shall turn to you in love, when corruption and evil shall give way to integrity and goodness, when superstition shall no longer enslave the mind, nor idolatry blind the eye. But may all created in your image become one in spirit and one in friendship, forever united in your service. Then shall your realm be established on earth, and the word of your prophet fulfilled. Adonai will reign forever and ever.
ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו
And now it's my pleasure to call forward a member of our board, an ever-present member of our congregation in worship and in study, Bunny Blattner, who will offer you a few words and gifts on behalf of our congregation. Maybe over there. Can you? Yeah. Can you make it here? Can I see you? Okay. There you go. Lucas? Here you go.
Oh, that's all the stuff. Wow, you are amazing. What a beautiful service you did. Your voice, your Hebrew. Rabbi, you could have a successor when you're ready to
It's true.
retire. Amazing.
Gotta look out for my job.
An
Yeah.
amazing young man. And we're so lucky to have you and know that you're going to continue as our family of Solel and go on through confirmation. And I'll be here to root you on for that too. I'm here to present on behalf of the Board of Directors your official bar mitzvah certificate. That's that. And on behalf of the Elaine Jamie Lipson Friends of the March of the Living Bar Mitzvah Scholarship Program, we would like to present to you this certificate, which can be redeemed for a credit after being accepted towards participation on the March of the Living. I went on it. It changed my life. I went with kids. It was fabulous. You gotta go. On behalf of the Brotherhood and Sisterhood, we would like to present you with a gift basket, which includes an Amazon gift card, a box of gourmet chocolates, and a Kiddush cup. And we know you will make your friends and family and be a member of Solel forever. Thank you. You're wonderful. Okay, that's this. All of this. Got it? Thank you.
Our concluding hymn can be found on page 626, Ein Kelohenu.
Enek Eloheinu, Enek Adonenu, Enek Malkeinu, Enek Moshienu, Mich Eloheinu, Mich Adonenu, Mich Malkeinu, Mich Moshienu, Nodel Eloheinu, Nodel Adonenu, Nodel Malkeinu, Nodel Moshienu, Baruch Eloheinu, Baruch Adonenu, Baruch Malkeinu, Baruch Moshienu, Atahu Eloheinu, Atahu Adonenu, Atahu Malkeinu, Atahu Moshienu.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen.
Amen. L'chaim.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz.
Amen.
How beautiful and wondrous is this day.
Siman tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, siman tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, siman tov, mazel tov, siman tov, ken hiye lanu. Siman tov, mazel tov, siman tov, mazel tov, siman tov, mazel tov, siman tov, ken hiye lanu. Yehi lanu, ולכל ישראל, יהי לנו, ולכל ישראל, יהי לנו, ולכל ישראל, יהי לנו, ולכל מזל טוב.
Mazel tov. All are invited to celebrate with our post-oneg. Mazel tov.